is Adam Madrid.
Hi, how you doing?
Adam, thanks for coming.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man. I'm honored.
All right, well, let's get straight into it.
Oh man, it's a great story that basically because of the 48-hour film project coming to Jacksonville, it came in 2007. I was a participant in it, and it was me and my buddies, Josh, Jeremiah, and Mike. We had this company called Argyle Forest Films, and we've always talked about one day making movies, doing something like that. And this was an opportunity to do so. I remember our buddy Jeremiah was saying, "Hey, I saw on the news that there's a film competition coming to Jacksonville. It's the world's largest film competition because this film competition is all over in regards to like not just Jacksonville, but like Miami, Atlanta, Paris, Shanghai. So it's all over places." And we participated in it. Our movie was really, really bad, and we just kept doing it though. We had fun because it was a weekend to where we got together, my friends, our family, and just like made something, And what's cool about that is you don't know what you're filming until the kickoff. So at the kickoff is when you're given elements, a character, prop, and line, and you're given a genre, and then they say, "All right, you guys got 48 hours, go." And then from that, we participated every single year. We finally won in 2014, and that was a big moment for us because it finally showed that the growth that we were as filmmakers here in our city. And our movie got to be shown in Hollywood at the Chinese Theater. We did it a couple more years, even in Savannah we did it. And there was a point where the city producer stepped down, and people were looking at me to like run it. And at the time, me and my wife Monique, we actually had it to where we did this film festival called LOL JAX Film Festival. It was our first year doing it, but people looked at us as like, "You guys should run the 48-hour film project." And I was like, "No, I don't want to run it. I want to actually participate. I want to do this thing." But doing so, it became a great opportunity for us to be like, "Hey, we won this thing. We know what it's like. Why don't we give the people the opportunity to feel that same experience, but also in a way that we can bring in a film event here in Jacksonville like no other."
Man, why Jacksonville, other than just being from here?
I just feel like Jacksonville is this amazing mecca of talent we have here in our city that, I just feel like a lot of times we have to show our love for this. I feel like it's responsibility of the city to show their love for the artist here, whether it's musical artists, filmmakers, stand-up comedians. We have a lot of amazing talent. A lot of times they end up going to places like Miami, Atlanta, and LA, New York, and we're not those cities, but we're not trying to be either. We're trying to be Jacksonville. And that's something I tell people, just be proud of that, because again, we have so much homegrown talent here, or raised talent here. And I think it's a responsibility for people that when they do put on events to highlight that local talent and show their worth here in our city.
That's great to hear. You talked about LOL JAX. What motivated you to create the LOL JAX Film Festival, and how has it evolved since its inception?
Oh man, LOL JAX Film Festival was a great idea from Monique. We were at Sunray Cinema one day, and I just remember we were sitting there, and she had this idea of doing a comedy film festival. Right. And again, she was reaching, saying to me like, "Would you like to, do it?" And I'm just like, "Nah, man, that sounds like a lot of work." I'm just like, no, I just like making movies. I like making shorts, and I wanted to do that. I don't want to take on a responsibility like that. But I seen that night. It was during a local film showcase here that Richard Kodai did. And I just remember the laughter of everyone when they were watching. It was a horror showcase, like they showed horror films here in Jacksonville, but there was this one funny horror short, and everyone was blown away by it. And it was, Marshall Malone was the director for Upside Down Creative Media. And the movie was called Jesse Higgins and His Inner Demons. And like the plates just erupted. And then at that moment, I was kind of like, you know what, this could be something, And then the next day we started thinking about the idea. I reached out to Richard that did the showcase and talked to him about that idea, and he said, "You guys should do it. You guys should go for it."
What went into that process and just creating LOL JAX? Like, how did you make the connections, and more so, what exactly were you guys trying to pinpoint in terms of impact?
I think the whole idea with it is, like spinning the LOL part of it, because a lot of people just know it's laugh out loud. And with Monique's idea was, why don't we call it Love Our Locals? It's a comedy film fest, but again, it is embracing the local talent. So not only are we highlighting the local filmmakers, but local musicians, local stand-up comedians, and giving them a platform for one weekend to just enjoy each other, just to embrace one another, because the whole idea was also, with so much sadness in the world, so much hate, so much, like people against each other, that it's okay to laugh, it's okay to smile during these tough times. Then why don't we do that on a weekend where we can do that while embracing local?
That's really amazing to hear. And you talk about like the local community and just embracing Jacksonville so much. One thing I want to ask you is, with you being how deeply involved you are in the local arts community, what drives your passion for working with organizations like JAM and Don't Miss a Beat?
Oh man, I think it's important to that you have a platform like this to utilize it and, like embrace. Like I said, there's a lot of amazing students here in our city that, like if they're given an opportunity, they should, we have these gifts that we have here, and we should embrace that, in regards to like giving them the knowledge. It's like, hey, here's what you can do with filmmaking. Here's what you can do with getting your film into festivals. Here's what you can do. So stuff with like JAMS, Jacksonville Arts and Music School, me and Monique do summer classes, like summer sessions with the film students there. And it's a great thing to have, to just kind of give them the experience that we've, done, and also just kind of like the overcome stuff, know there's gonna be challenges when you're doing films. We then recently just did a film festival with them, the Jacksonville Arts and Music JAMS Film Festival. So that was really cool to be a part of that. We were a judge on that. For Don't Miss a Beat, I think it's important that, again, the skills that we utilize in regards to like music, that we love, we're a big lover of music, we're big advocates of the musical scene here, and Don't Miss a Beat is that. They really embrace the local, like talent of musical acts, musicians, singers, Broadway, and whatever we can do to advise them or to help out and utilize our skills in regards to, sometimes we do with interviews, like we have camera, we know experience with that camera, we know experience with light and sound and everything like that, and just to embrace like bringing like a documentary type style for their, vision of what they've done, what their events they're doing, and bring it to them. That's an important thing for them to learn.
What are you hoping to do moving forward with those type of organizations? Like, it seems like you've kind of established your purpose and what you want to do with the kids in the next generation, and inspiring creativity in both filmmaking, music, and all types of areas of art. What are you hoping to evolve into within the next 5-10 years of doing this? Like, what is something new you want to add?
That's a good question. I think just adding on like more workshops. I think adding on, bringing in more talent outside of Jacksonville, and just like having, like I said, those workshops to where you're hearing outside voices and bringing that to the city here, and again just inspiring the students here. Whether it's JAMS, whether it's Don't Miss a Beat, whether it's Douglas Anderson's Cinematic Arts Department, it's important that again these students are inspired and learn from people of their peers, or people they look up to. And I think for us, in the next coming years, I feel it's important to reach out to some people that have made an impact, not just in Jacksonville, but outside of Jacksonville, and come here to share their experiences with them, and maybe they can take away some knowledge of stuff they never heard before. How
exactly do you think you'd be able to bring in outside talent, or like those voices to kind of come in and help marinate the youth?
I think just ask. I think like I say this too, is like it's important to network when you're out to these, like for me and Monique, like we'll go to these film events, and it's not just in the U.S., but like in the world, around the world, and we'll network and we'll talk with people, and you build those relationships with people, and you tell them their story of what we're doing, what the impact that we're trying to make in Jacksonville. And if someone is moved by that, there's like when they do the thing, hey, what can I do to help? Yeah. And it's like, well, now that you bring that up, I do got something to ask. And, you just kind of build that relationship with people. And, but also, like I said, it's ask. This is another thing too, is like, you can DM some people that, and it's like the worst thing they could do is like just not respond or not say, or just say no. But you just never know, because if you're like, hey, I have this, this opportunity to inspire the youth here in Jacksonville, would you be willing to come to Jacksonville? And we could try to make that work. I mean, sometimes they respond back and they're just like, let me know what can I do to help? And I think that's what's important, is just reaching out and having that message clear of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and that's great when you talk about just networking and like building those relationships, because you know it'll benefit the community. As a board member of the Mayor's Advisory Commission on Television, Motion Picture, and Commercial Production, what initiatives have you championed to support local filmmakers? How has that been for you?
Oh, so that was fun. I was a part of that board. And so now, because I just got a new position with the city, so I'm now a film production coordinator with the City of Jacksonville Film and Television Office. So thank you. So yeah, with that taking on that role, I had to step down as being a board member now, and now with the film office. But what I've learned from that experience was just, like having a voice, to say like, what can we do better as a film community, like I said, in regards to the film office that we have here, just, provide ideas, thinking outside the box. And it was great as being on a board like that. A lot of times people think like board members, it's like, board meetings, it's boring. Yeah. No, with the film and television office, it's not that. It's not the case at all. There's a lot of great creatives on that board, even as of today, that they offer their feedback, they offer their suggestions. And what's great is you have a voice to say like, hey, we should do this, we should try this out. And that's what it's about, just, like lending you what you've experienced in Jacksonville and outside of Jacksonville, and what can we do better here for us.
How did that first begin with, when you first became on the board originally, like that prior position? How did you find yourself in that position? And what were some things as you were being enrolled into it that you were hoping to accomplish in itself?
So that was, so getting on the board, that became a lot of hard work of doing stuff behind the scenes, when being a filmmaker, being a city producer for the 40-Hour Film Project, being a co-creator of the LOL JAX Film Festival. Just, like I said, the impact that we've been making in our city, that's where you started getting attention, and then you're offered a position to be like, hey, would you like to join the board? Or, someone suggests, so I remember being asked to come on the board for the film office and the Mayor's Advisory Board. And that was a great moment for me. That was a big moment for me because I'm just like, wow, I get to be a part of this great group of people and my peers. And I feel like, again, my voice was heard. I feel like, there is a reason why I'm here. And I'm among with everyone else, it's just like, we're here to make an impact. We're here to make change for the good. Make it, maybe not have it the same old, like think of some creative outside of the box ideas. And I think that's what, for me being there, was beneficial, along with my peers, because I think all of us together collectively as a group, as on the board, made a difference for the city.
Touching on your peers, you've had the opportunity to be able to come across a lot of great people, individuals even of talent and things they've done. How has your work with Douglas Anderson's Cinematic Arts Department impacted your perspective on nurturing young talent? How has that come? Just from interacting and then you looking at yourself in terms of where you are, what do you want to be, and more so, what do you want to do? How has that impacted you both then and now?
That was a cool opportunity to be a part of with Douglas Anderson Cinematic Arts Department. I remember we were invited to come to their showcase, and we saw like the amazing work these seniors did, along with everyone else that was a part of the class. But just to see that at their theater and just having their friends and family show up and support them was such a cool feeling. Because again, at the time, we were doing the LOL JAX Film Festival and just started the 48. So us being invited, then we were asked if we can become like on board with them, and like offer suggestions. We helped out with their film program later when the pandemic happened and stuff like that. So we were really in touch with what they were doing in the Cinematic Arts Department, and just coming out there, we got to speak to the students. I think it's just, again, it's going back to getting that opportunity. Any opportunity you have that you can speak to the youth of Jacksonville, student filmmakers, you want to make that impact, because you don't know who's listening, Okay, obviously they're there and they're like, all right, well, we're going to gain some knowledge from someone that's done something, but but also it just, whether it's just that one person, that one student that gets something out of that is that's what's beneficial, is the fact that you're trying to like see what can be done for a student. And I think it's important that, people do, use their talents and use their networking abilities or use whatever they have to inform and educate these students to give them a great life. And also I was actually in a way like, dang, I wish I had this as a kid, as a kid growing up, it's like this kind of school, and I didn't have that. And I'm just excited for them to have this opportunity like that.
Yeah, you talk about like you wishing you had those type of opportunities as a kid. When you found yourself becoming a professional and just finding your own lane, your first independent film was Let Me Be Corey.
Yeah.
What was the idea behind that? And just walk me through like your follow through in that process and just how it became what it is today for you.
Yeah, Let Me Be Corey was that was something that happened because of the pandemic. Me and my buddies, again, Josh, Jeremiah, and Mike from Argyle Forest Films, we did all the success of short films. We conquered it, music videos, commercials. And, we've always said, as kids, growing up, we were at Chimney Lakes Elementary School here in Jacksonville. We always talk about one day making movies. And, we wanted to make a feature film. The time was never right. And then we started getting older, and, people we had to start getting careers. They started having kids, families, and it just seemed like, all right, this is probably never going to happen, And but we still talk and we still hang out, every once in a while. But then when the pandemic happened, it was like we're not doing anything. So we got together, on the Zoom call, and we said, hey, I think now would be a good time to talk about this feature film that we wanted to do. And I think Let Me Be Corey was born. And for us, we grew up loving, like romantic comedies, but with adult humor. So that was our mindset was like, there's a movie called Something About Mary that we were like really enjoyed, and then also like Kevin Smith films, Judd Apatow, those kind of movies where, again, there is, like I said, heart in the movie. It just happens to be mixed in with adult humor in it, right. But I think that's where our message gets across, is like that's our vehicle, that's what we love, and doing so, we created something amazing that will be coming out here very shortly, and we're excited for Jacksonville to see this movie.
I love to see that, especially like you being a filmmaker. There's obviously a creative process that goes into it. Can you share insights into the post-production process of Let Me Be Corey and what you've learned from this project?
At the time when I'm doing post-production, I'm the editor as well. I was trying to do a lot with, also editing, but also in the same time I was jumping on a lot of opportunities to gain where I'm at right now, right. Which is, again, the film office, this film production coordinator there. But in doing so, a lot of times the movie would just keep getting pushed, as in the editing process. And I feel like if I had to change anything in regards to that, maybe I would get an editor to do the movie instead of just having it me doing it. But also I feel like I grew up with the knowledge of Robert Rodriguez. He's a filmmaker that has gone on to success, what he's done. But he had the mindset, I was like, he didn't have a big crew. He just did it on his, he had a small crew, but when he was filming with the mindset of how he was editing the movie as well. And that's what I was doing with Let Me Be Corey. When I was directing it, I was also in my head thinking how it was going to be edited. So with doing so, there's challenges, in post-production, because, you want to make sure it's right. You want to make sure you're not rushing the process either. And I think that's what a lot of times with a lot of filmmakers is they want to rush the process and they're missing continuity issues. They're having continuity issues. There's issues with the coloring of the film. The sound is now not that great, and I think that's what a lot of times is you want to take time with making sure this edit is right, and that's, that's a fortunate and fortunate thing about it too, but I feel like once people do see it on the big screen, they'll understand why it was a longer process than what it took and why that this film deserves to be on big screens all over around the nation.
With you wearing so many hats, do you ever fear that you're not able to give the same equal amount of attention or compassion into your work, because you have one area in which you're like, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that, but yet you might have another subject in which something happens and now you got to go attend to that to make sure that stays afloat. How do you manage that exactly?
Yeah, you got to be really good at multitasking. And again, like I said, sometimes some things, I'm not gonna say suffer. It's just you got to pay attention to this. And I was like, all right, I'm done with this. Now I got to go to this, and you got to make sure. I think what the 48-hour film project, if anything, it taught you how to multitask in a timed timed thing. So before you have 48 hours, you have to write, you have to film, you have to edit in this time frame. There's no sleep, and I think this is why it's important. A lot of times people are very hesitant about doing the 48-hour film project, but I feel like it's a boot camp for filmmakers that if you want to get into this industry, it does help out because now you're on deadlines. Like, I need this now, I need this now, I need this now, and it prepares you. Yeah, so I mean, again, a lot of times some people probably aren't put in that situation and they're just feels like, okay, well now you're getting project after project after project, and now you're gonna start getting overwhelmed. And I think with the 48 is like, it gives you that management of like, I can do this, I got this, and that's why I say it's hard because you don't want to miss any opportunity that's given to you. Because you feel like if that's it, that's maybe that missed opportunity you had. And, you want to jump on it, but just be aware, be ready that 3 other things may be coming your way at the same exact time. Right. And how are you going to handle the stress of that? So it's got to be, you got to have great stress management. If you're in the filmmaking business, this is going to be your life. This is going to be what you've asked for this. But in turn, there's a love for it. There's a passion for it. And it's okay if you want to get a 9-to-5 job. That's fine. I did like the ViStar Credit Union, which I loved. I did Citibank that I loved. There was a lot of great opportunities that built me up to this moment here. But for me, my passion was filmmaking. I didn't want to do the office, and not saying that's a bad thing. People, are great at office work and everything. That's just not me, though. Unfortunately, I have this passion of filmmaking. I want to make movies, and I want to, so now with the position I'm in, I want to help this city grow into the film mecca that it deserves to be, and which it's leading that way because there's a lot of things that are being impacted right now in Jacksonville that's good for the filmmakers and great for everyone. That's showing that we have the talent here that's going to make that happen.
All right. You talk about just being able to have opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. And in having an opportunity, I think one of the things that you have to possess is just having a broad taste for different things, just to be able to create more doors to open. I want to ask you, how do you incorporate stand-up comedy, music, and local businesses into the festival to create a unique experience?
That's a fun weekend. So the LOL JAX Film Festival is such a cool opportunity. Every year it's gotten bigger and bigger because of that love of what we're showing. Now, because of my title now with the city, mm-hmm. I no longer am a part of LOL JAX Film Festival. So that's mm-hmm. actually Monique that does that. Right. So this was her first year doing it, and she killed it. She's amazing at what she does, and incorporating all that with stand-up, with musicians, with filmmakers, with local businesses, I think that is needed in our city. That was a needed event because, again, what's great is you're seeing a lot of events popping up, that are doing like similar things to that, and that's important. That's needed, So when people think like, well, it's competition, it's like, no, it's not. That's another great opportunity for that filmmaker, for that musician, for that stand-up comedian, because it gives them that light that they deserve. And this right here is just one of those things that happen. But you'll see it as it continues to grow every single year. So it's going into year 9 next year. And again, the LOL JAX Film Festival is just something that I'm truly proud of, because I'm more proud of because of Monique taking on that and showing that vision, that creativity that she had, it was made possible. And the city was able to say, like, we love this, we endorse this, and we're glad to be a part of it. So
how has the partnership been? And just like, when you guys are creating projects together or even doing your own individual things, how does that relationship bounce off of each other?
Oh, man. There's a thing where people are saying, build your success. Stay driven and, just be determined. Don't lose focus on what you're trying to accomplish. But I will say it is so great. It's so great to have a partner. It's so great to have someone there that will motivate you, that'll drive you, that'll be there during the down times, when the rough times, when people are just like, when you're kind of maybe doubting yourself. It's always great to have that second person, whether it's not just saying married couple, but I'm just saying whether it's, girlfriend, boyfriend, whether it's, your partner, your best friend, someone that can amp you up. And I think it's important to have that person, to have that bestie, that have that, person that's just gonna be there by your side no matter what. Because I feel like it does encourage a lot of people to have someone that believes in their vision. Right. And a lot of times it feels like sometimes whether you're an artist, doesn't matter what kind of art you're doing, sometimes it feels like you're on an island by yourself. And it's sometimes get depressing. Sometimes it hurts, and when you have someone beside you saying, you got this, then it gives you that extra motivation, that extra something like, I know why I'm doing this for, So I say it's important to find that person to be there by your side and push you along the way.
And I love that. And, one thing I also wanted to go back on, we've talked about your new position, right? I want to ask you, what role do you believe local government and organizations should play in fostering Jacksonville's creative community?
Oh, I think it's important in all aspects. Recently, there was the Fostering Filmmaking Grants that we just did, and that was important because that was never been done before. Doing that shows that your commitment to the city, to these filmmakers, and I think that right there just exemplifies that this is the first, and we're looking to do more, but we just got to make sure this pilot works, and it was many applications that came in, and they had to choose 3, and with that. The 3 that were selected are amazing, talented filmmakers. We got Alexa Wint, Jaron Wallace, and Michael Carter. Right. Those 3 they showed, everything that they can bring to the table. Not saying the other ones didn't. The other ones were just as fantastic. That it has to be 3, unfortunately. But they showed that, they had everything in line, everything was ready to go, and they're going to make a great feature film, of all 3 that they're going to show. Now, along with that, the government also did individual artist grants, $10,000 artist grants to 60 people. And they just recently announced that. And what was great is I was part of the Arts, Culture, and Entertainment Committee for the Mayor's Advisory back last summer. And it was led by the amazing Hope McMath. And that right there was a push. Like, we were pushing for that to be a thing. So it was like, artists here deserve, to get taken care of, and, people were just like, well, that's government money. And, why don't they just go off and make their own stuff? Well, sometimes it helps that actually the city is behind them. And, we're so quick to say well, the city's doing money for this, and never thinking about what about the local individual artists that are happening here, that are doing stuff in our city and not getting, compensated, not getting, paid their worth. So this gives them an opportunity to not just be acknowledged, but also get paid their worth and for their projects that they're doing. So, we want to show them that Jacksonville cares about the local art scene. And I think Culture Council of Greater Jacksonville does a great job of doing that as well, just trying to embrace the art scene here. Because, again, you see a lot of major cities do that. And, we want to be one of those those cities that give the opportunity for those artists to show that the city does care about them. And they're not just an afterthought, where the city will think of something else, kind of thing. So,
with also just embracing artists, in what ways do you think Jacksonville's film festivals and projects impact the city's culture and economy? And how much of a role have you seen the artists take upon themselves to make sure they're putting out not just the best quality of work, but meaningful work as well?
Yeah, I think it's important to have these film events. Like you said, and I'm not just talking about LOL JAX 48. I'm talking about Creative Veins does these film events. Actually, one called Naughty or Nice. It's a holiday film festival coming up, and then also they just did the Trick or Treat. It was a Halloween film fest, and for that it just gives people opportunity to work on their craft. But there's some great stuff that's shown on here, and what it all is doing is showing people that. Just keep making movies, keep making content, and I'm not saying content, so just keep making films. Keep making these movies because all it does is now it's showing you basically the light of what can I do better next time? Because you can get people to be like, the sound was a little bad, the light, if it was just a little bit, brighter on all those scenes, the camera work, just stuff like that. Again, that's stuff that you can get the feedback from people, your peers, the judges that are looking at these film events, and just show that we can get better as a film community, because I think what it is everyone wants to cheer everyone on. And I think that's the important thing, is to lift everybody up, because it's so easy to tear someone down and be like, damn, that sucked, kind of thing. But for people just like to be advocates of like uplifting one another, I think that's what's the important thing, and that's what's needed even more than ever in Jacksonville, is uplifting one another instead of tearing people down.
Yeah, obviously you've been fortunate to be around people that have helped build you up in things. I want to ask, what has been the most rewarding moment in your career so far at this point?
Most rewarding, I'm gonna say it is this new position that I got. Yeah. I think, my life is, I've always grown up to being like, I want to make movies. Like, that's my whole thing, is I wanted to make movies and make an impact. And I feel like I have done that to the point where everything was leading me to this role here. Right. And for me to get the call and saying, we want to bring you on the City of Jacksonville Film and Television Office as the first ever film production coordinator, that's a big deal, and it's just like, for me, that was like, wow, I can literally do something now meaningful to the city. And whether I was doing film festivals, running them, whether I did my first feature film in Let Me Be Corey, those are great impacts that I've done, whether it's educating students. But I think with this role, this gives me the opportunity to help out. Like Todd Rubin's our film commissioner here, and just like, hey, like we can offer suggestions to be like, we can do this for the city. We can do this for the upcoming filmmakers that want to learn, the student filmmakers. Like, highlight the feature films that are coming in Jacksonville. I think this just gives more of an opportunity to be like seen. And for me, it's not about me. It's about these filmmakers. It's about this filmmaking community. It's about just giving them another platform, a higher platform, to show that the city is behind y'all and that we can actually care. And that's been my goal since day one, is like, listen, I love making movies. I love doing this for me, and but I've always been a person that's like, when I'm ever on my film sets, I care about like every single person that's on that film set. I could care less about what I'm doing, whatever, stuff like that. I care about, are you having a good time? Are you taken care of? I want to make sure that everyone gets that experience when because you don't know who you're inspiring, you don't know who you're talking to, and if you're given that moment to do so, like you got to take advantage of that moment, because you don't know if you're ever going to get that opportunity again. And that's what I feel like with this role, is doing that, is making a difference in the city, in the filmmaking community.
That's great to hear. Well, as we come to a close, I do want to ask you one more question for the viewers. Can you tease any upcoming projects or ideas you've been excited to develop? So I just recently came from American Film Market in Vegas, and I got a lot of nuggets. I got a lot of networking, a lot of great opportunities there. I was actually there for Let Me Be Corey, for a feature film. But I think in doing so, I think what it does, it just opened my eyes even more to what Jacksonville is going to become. And I just feel like that's what I'm aspiring to do, is to bring some cool projects here. Like I said, just, I will say this too, is along with doing all that, it sparked my idea for my second feature film. And I'm not even done yet. Let Me Record is still the first feature film. I got to get that done. I want to make sure that's where, but when people ask you, what's next? Right. It's like, okay, cool, you did a feature film, great. What's next? Right. And for me, it's like my second feature film. I already have an idea for it, but when we're talking about wearing too many hats, like I got the idea of the feature film, but also on term of that is making sure that I'm dedicating my time with the film office, to making sure that every moment that I'm there at the film office, I'm there for a reason. And I think that's what I want to do, is just try to make this impact and make an impact in our city, and show that Jacksonville came to play. And we're already showing that we can compete with the big dogs in all these major cities, again, because we're not LA, we're not New York, we're not Miami, we're not Atlanta, we're Jacksonville. And again, that's something to be very proud of, because we're making a noise here in our city that's being heard worldwide. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
I'm Javon Marilis. This is Folio Weekly, and here we are with Adam Madrid, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you.